Hey everybody, welcome to History Forge. My name is Taylor Hamblin. We are going to work on another primary source today, and as you can see by the grumpy looking man on my screen, we're talking about Christopher Columbus. Yes, he does look very, very displeased. It's funny too, because I'm from South Dakota, and here in South Dakota we talk about, it's actually Native American Day. We actually don't even have a Columbus Day anymore. And this entire week during what the rest of the United States celebrates as being Columbus Day on Mondays, our entire week is actually Native American week. And, it really focuses on actually what you kind of see in my Google search here. It says hero or villain. In recent decades, Christopher Columbus's myth or his character has been called into question. Just because he did do some things in the past, such as slavery, torture. He's been, many people link him to like genocide, things like that. And so the actual Columbus Day celebration has been called into question. Not just because Columbus was actually kind of a bad dude, according to many people. It's also because the reason why we celebrate his day is actually called into question as well. So you guys can see my primary source. I believe you can see it. Yep, you're there. You can this primary source talks about how we actually got Columbus Day. And so because this week's all about Columbus Day, I wanted to spend some time on and actually talking about it, even though we're technically way past that. So if you're one of my students, we're in October now, so we're well past discovery of America by Europeans and the conquests and colonization of early people. So we're past that, but I still think it's good to go back just to talk about it. And we will be practicing a skill today. So I got the skill right here. It's called primary source contextualization. We are practicing the second skill of contextualization. It is right here. I'll highlight it for you. It says correctly connected the primary source to an outside fact to better explain a historical idea, belief, or theme. So we have that right there. Feel free to pause me and write that down if you wish. And then if we look back at the original primary source, the primary source is this thing in the box right here. It says this is an excerpt from President Benjamin Harrison's proclamation of Columbus Day as a national holiday in 1892. So a guy named Benjamin Harrison, who's one of the presidents of the United States, declared that Columbus Day should be celebrated. And so we're going to look into that, like why it got chosen, and we're going to link it to an outside fact. So this is the primary source, the thing my mouse is hovering over right now. And these four things down here, I'm not sure why it's not letting me highlight. Weird. Okay, well, it's not letting me highlight for some reason, but these four things down here that I'm kind of circling with my mouse, these are the four facts. And so we need to correctly connect one of those facts to the primary source. So basically, one of these facts makes sense. The other three make no sense, or we can at least explain why they don't. And that's actually what we have to do. We have to explain why these facts make no sense, and we'll do that right here in this little box. So I'll write a number 1 in the box. And again, if you're taking notes, if you're one of my students, feel free to take notes. If you're a teacher watching this and you want your students to take notes too, that's fine. And I'm actually going to go to this site first. It's called Gilder-Lorman Institute of American History. They're awesome. They have really good primary sources. They give you a lot of good information. And if you scroll down, they even give you discussion topics. So if you're one of my students and you're doing this for your big History Day project, feel free to use the primary source. But if not, it's a great website regardless. And we're actually not going to use its primary source. We're actually going to focus just on the biographical information. So I want to give you a little information about Columbus and who he is, what he did, and then we're going to jump into the actual primary source. So this should all take us anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, so just bear with me and read along if you want. So I'm going to read from here, talking about Columbus. For nearly 5 months, Columbus explored the Caribbean, particularly the islands of Juana, which is later known as Cuba, and Hispaniola, which became Santo Domingo, before returning to Spain. He left 39 men to build a settlement called La Navidad in present-day Haiti. He also kidnapped several Native Americans between 10 and 25 to take back to Spain. Only 8 survived. So remember, Native Americans couldn't handle the diseases that Europeans had, and the trip back across the Atlantic was very dangerous and full of disease by itself. And so it's not very surprising that, only a handful of these people actually survived. Columbus brought back small amounts of gold, as well as native birds and plants that show the richness of the continent he believed to be Asia. When Columbus arrived back in Spain on March 15, 1493, he immediately wrote a letter announcing his discoveries to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who had helped finance his trip. The letter was written in Spanish and sent to Rome, where it was printed in Latin by Stephen Planck. Planck mistakenly left Queen Isabella's name out of the pamphlet's introduction, but quickly realized his error and repented the pamphlet a few days later. The copy shown here is the second corrected edition. So again, we're not going to use this primary source. We're just learning a little bit about Columbus. In fact, I'm going to skip down to this very last paragraph. In addition to announcing his momentous discovery, Columbus's letter also provides observations of the native people, culture, and lack of weapons, noting that, quote, they are destitute of arms, which are entirely unknown to them, and for which they are not adapted. Not on account of any bodily deformity, for they are well made, but because they are timid and full of terror. So he's basically saying these people are full of terror, they have no weapons. So he's making it very clear that these people could be conquered very easily. So, this is Columbus. He discovered America, or he discovered the Americas for the Europeans. And a lot of people don't like that word discover, but I do think it's accurate just because most Europeans didn't know about it. Columbus's discovery is the first time Europeans find the Americas and then come back and write extensively about it. Say what you want about Columbus. You could say that, well, the Vikings discovered it first, the Native American people came here first. That's not untrue, but because of Columbus's voyage, all of a sudden, all the Europeans begin to find out about this place, which sets off huge colonization and conquering of Native American people. So, yeah, you can be nitpicky about Columbus's discovery, but it was important. You can't argue about that. So that's the Columbus article. We're going to go back to the primary source now. So we're jumping way ahead up now. We're now in 1892. Columbus actually discovers America in 1492, which is probably why Benjamin Harrison says, hey, we should celebrate this, because it's the 400-year anniversary. So 1892, 400 years later, President Benjamin Harrison makes a proclamation. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to talk about one of these four facts which connects to it, okay? So, I, Benjamin Harrison, President of the United States of America, do hereby appoint Friday, October 21st, 1892, the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America by Columbus, as a general holiday for the people of the United States. On that day, let the people so far as possible cease from toil and devote themselves to such exercises as may best express honor to the discoverer and their appreciation of the great achievements of the 4 completed centuries of American life. In the churches and in the other places of assembly of the people, let there be expression of gratitude to divine providence for the devout faith of the discoverer and for the divine care and guidance which was directed our history and so abundantly blessed our people. So I wasn't using my pen. I can grab it right now. Let me see if this works. Yep. Okay. So I'm using an orange today. A lot of, he definitely is talking a lot about, there's some, Christian, tones in here that I saw for sure. Let's see if I can find them again. In the churches, there we go. So in the churches and other places of assembly of the people, let there be expression of gratitude to divine providence for the devout faith, divine care. So a lot of, divine, this is all very much seems like Christianity blessed our people. So a lot of this seems very religious, I'm noticing, just off the bat. So Benjamin Harrison wants to celebrate Columbus Day, and he definitely has religious tones in his primary source. So now that we've done that, let's look at the following question. So this is the question that we're going to answer, okay? Which one of the facts below might help explain why Benjamin Harrison declared a holiday to honor Christopher Columbus? Columbus was an Italian Catholic. So in parentheses, it gives us a little extra information. Columbus was a person who was an Italian Catholic. Now again, we need to choose the one fact that best connects to the primary source. So again, why do we think Benjamin Harrison wanted to celebrate Columbus Day on 1892? Is it just because he thought it'd be a cool thing to do, or is there something more going on here? Let's take a look. Number 1, Columbus enslaved people he encountered on his voyages, but refused to baptize them because Catholic law prohibited the enslavement of Christians. Okay, so this one seems bad according to Christianity. So, he says he's refusing to baptize people. So we have to ask ourselves, why would Benjamin Harrison want that fact to connect to celebrating Columbus Day? So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why does, that almost seems like it's bad against Christians. And remember, America's very Christian at this point. So that fact doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. If you really think about it, why would they do that? So let's go ahead and jump to number 2. Benjamin Harrison was running for re-election in 1892, and millions of Catholic immigrants could vote. So he says right here, Catholic people could vote, and Benjamin Harrison wants to be reelected. Notice here in parentheses too, they said Columbus was an Italian Catholic. So maybe the Italian Catholics would have been so proud of Columbus, and if they connected that pride to Benjamin Harrison saying, hey guys, I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who made a holiday. Aren't you proud of me? Maybe they would have been really happy about that and voted for him. So I'm going to go ahead and X out number 1 because I don't think that's it. I'm going to maybe put a check mark to number 2 right now. Let's read the other 2. Although Harrison's proclamation only called for a holiday in 1892, the United States has celebrated Columbus Day every year since 1934. That doesn't make sense, though, because that doesn't matter. I don't know, the dates are mixed up. Yeah, he called for it in 1892, but 1934 means nothing. That has nothing to do with the source. So I think sometimes, these questions try to trick you. Just use your head. A lot of times these are just common sense. If you really think about it, yeah, that doesn't make sense. 1934 is way after the date, so that's definitely wrong. And then number 4, Columbus not only made 4 voyages to the Americas, but also served twice as governor as Hispaniola, which is now the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So I don't know. That one also doesn't, that one kind of connects better, but at the same time, why does that matter? If as far as we're trying to figure out why is Benjamin Harris doing this? It's the entirety. Is there an alternative motive for Benjamin Harrison to make Columbus Day a holiday? So looking at this, why does it matter that Columbus was governor twice? I mean, you can maybe say well, because Catholics would have been proud of him, but I think number 2 shows that pride better, honestly. So I'm going to say that's wrong, too. I think it's number 2. I think number 2 makes the most sense. And so, what I would do is, here, I'm going to move my primary source over to my other computer so I can see and type at the same time. So I'm going to say number 2 is the correct answer. I'm going to say Benjamin Harrison was running for re-election in 1892, and millions of Catholic immigrants could vote. Oops, I misspelled that. Okay, could vote. Now, if we're using the race strategy, and so for my students, remember we have to restate our answer, which is the right answer. I'm picking the right answer right now. So I said number 2 is the right answer, and so I'll bring back our source so you can see that. It should work. There it is. So I'm saying number 2 is the correct answer, and I think you can still see me. Yeah. Going back into here, we need evidence. We need to explain it. So, for example, I could say if Benjamin Harrison was running for re-election, then he would need many votes. If the Catholic immigrants could vote, then he would want to get on their good side. So that's a pretty simple explanation, I think, just proving my point. So again, you always want to explain why you think these things. So again, these questions, you don't just write down number 2 would be the right answer. You would need to explain further why you know that's correct. You always want to back yourself up, okay? And that's really all there is to it. You're just connecting an outside fact. And so kind of going back into Columbus Day and talking about it, that's Columbus Day. Columbus Day was not chosen to celebrate Christopher Columbus because of how much of a hero he was. He was chosen for a big reason because Benjamin Harrison wanted to get reelected to become president. Columbus Day has only been a holiday since 1934, and Benjamin Harrison said it should be in 1892. So there's some people who say, well, Columbus Day should be something that we celebrate. If we get rid of it, we're deleting history. I don't know. I would take an opposite argument. I don't think we're deleting history by changing things a little bit. We still remember Christopher Columbus. We still teach about him. We still have museums filled with him. It's just should we honor somebody who didn't necessarily represent people very well back then? Do we want that to be somebody we celebrate in America? Or would we rather celebrate Native American people, the people who fought for their freedom, fought for their independence, fought against a tyrannical group? I think Americans believe in freedom, and because of that, I think it's very dangerous to hold to Christopher Columbus so well. But I'm sure you have your own opinion, and that's fine. I'm happy to listen to it. But yeah, that was Christopher Columbus. So we're bringing our grumpy Mr. Columbus back. You know, if you're an outside, and this is the point where my students can stop listening to me if they want. But if you're a teacher using these, please let me know how it goes. If you're a student who has questions, feel free to use the comments below. In the video descriptions, I do put the video links of all the things that I use. Like, I'll put Gilder Lehrman down there. I'll put the primary source I use down there too. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for stopping by. Please come back and check out more primary sources. Check out social media stuff, and goodbye. Take care.